Hello to everyone who is watching. My name is Nat from the Kingston Collective, and today we are talking all things branding your business and getting seen with a very fun Jessica Roberts from The Who. So hi Jess, and thank you for joining us today. Before we dive in, do you want to just give us a quick overview of, how long you've been doing this and what your specialty is, and then we'll dive on in.
All those things. Yeah, cool. I just noticed how curly my hair is. I had it in plaits, so that's really random. Funny. Anyway, I'm Jessica Roberts. I've been a photographer for over 10 years around the world. And a couple of years ago, I started The Who, Photography and Design. Yes. And, it's kind of just brought all of my expertise together, like with my business partner, Crystal Oliver. We work with businesses to get all of their branding touch points like as awesome as they can be and consistent.
Yeah, awesome. And we need people like you to help us because there's a lot of people who don't even know what those branding touch points are.
Okay, yeah.
How to go about it and what you should have and what you shouldn't have, and just the best way to brand yourself or your business or your products and make sure you get seen. So, lovely. Yeah. Thank you for the intro. Okay, our first question. So I've got a series of questions here. So Jess, when we're talking about branding, branding, what are we talking about?
Okay, cool. All right. So I guess it's funny because when you talk about branding, people think, but I've got a really good logo. Yeah. Yeah. So that's only like a really, really small part of it, right? When we talk about branding, it can be even like the way you sound.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, and making sure everything is consistent. Like I was telling you just before I bought a mic, and that's because I want to come across the best way possible when I'm speaking online.
Yes.
I don't want the sound to be shoddy because my brand is better than that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, but that's not, that's only, again, a small part of it. But I think branding to me is like every single little bit of your brand that comes together as a touch point. So mostly you consider that as something that's visual. So it is partly like your logo, but how your logo talks to your customers. And is it the customers that you want it to talk to?
Yeah, right.
So when we create a brand, we do a questionnaire and we ask all these questions about who you're targeting and, what you're saying and what your values are, so that when we create this brand, which includes like your colors, your fonts, it all speaks to your customer in the right way. And so
it's really quite in depth, even down to the logo.
So the logo definitely, and that's where we start. We do start with the logo usually. Yeah. And often we've just started working with this cool brand that makes pet things, right? Yeah. But she's been doing this for 10 years and she's done it all herself. But we've only taken it on if we can start from scratch with her, which is a huge thing because she's been going for 10 years. She has all of this investment. She said $30,000 worth of investment in products that she's just made.
Yeah, right. Which is all good and
yeah. And so but she wants to work with us. So she's just going to roll that out as and when, and she knows that it's the right thing and she has to do it to move forward so that she speaks to her clients in the right way, because she feels like everything has been pieced together in that time and some of it doesn't have the right voice.
Yes. Yeah, which a lot of people do when they're starting out a business, and they don't know what they're doing and they don't sort of see it all as a big umbrella. They're sort of, people who start sometimes scramble and pick it up as they go. So
yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when you are starting, or if you've got your own business and you're doing it yourself, I think being aware of all these different visuals and how people see your brand is really important. So, I think that people can do it themselves. With my photography business before this, I did it all myself and I did a pretty good job of it because I knew that if I had to keep it consistent.
Yes. Yeah, right.
So, yeah.
You studied marketing as well in uni.
Yeah, I did. But I'm 40, so that was 22 years ago, and marketing has, actually the principles of marketing is very much the same. But I think that the the goalposts have changed dramatically. Like,
Absolutely. 20 years ago, it wouldn't have been such an emphasis on digital marketing. It would have been your hard copy collaterals and all of that. So
yeah, but I guess the principles are still the same as what you're trying to achieve. So I guess that did help, like when I was doing my own business. But I think like in your answer to your question, like what we're talking about with branding, it really is just like everything that you're putting out there is your branding. So it's your logo, it's your colors, it's your fonts, it's the pictures, it's any videos. And if there's a breakdown of any of those, I think it speaks to the credibility of your brand.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So yeah, quite involved. I thought about it in that depth. Okay. So obviously then before you start, so like you're saying that you ask a questionnaire, so you're forming a strategy. So question I've got, so is, how important is having a branding strategy from the very beginning?
It's pretty important. Like, I think, some people, when they start their business, they don't exactly know who their customers are, but then that kind of develops. Oh. So I think that's okay. But I think that maybe trying to understand who your dream customers are so you can speak to them is very important. Yeah. And because if you don't know who they are, then it's very hard to create visuals and a brand that speaks to them, because that's what essentially you're doing with any brand.
Yeah. You're trying to spark emotion in those. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So you have to start with your strategy. So
yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. We've got a few members in this business group. So obviously some, like you were talking about, have been running their business for 10, 15 years. But we've also got some people who are just starting out as well. Oh. So for those that haven't done marketing before, or, new to setting up their business, where would you say they start? So you've probably already answered this question, as in, defining who your target audience is. Anywhere else they should focus on in that?
Yeah, I think, often when we start a business at the beginning, like a lot of people create a business to what their taste is. And I think it's really important to remember that your business needs to have its own voice. It needs to create its own personality. And it can't it shouldn't just be who you are. I guess some people do have a business which is just themselves. And I know I've got my own personal brand that's got branding around that. So that's a bit different. But when we're talking about a business that's, a name that's not yourself, like you are creating a persona that's different from who you are. Yeah. So, so I think like that would be my top tip when you're starting a business is like, write down and create that persona of that business and make them have their own kind of personality and voice.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay, that's a good one.
I can probably add a bit more on that as well, actually. So from there, colors, like, when we talk about colors in what we do, we look at the colors that often people will give us a color palette, but then they'll say, but my audience is this, and sometimes that doesn't match up. So like, you might like a certain like color palette, but like looking at that color palette and then being like, will my audience like it, and doing a bit of research around that about who you're targeting. And if you're like being if you want to create like a really vibrant, fun kind of like, creating a palette that kind of matches that. And like there's all sorts of things with colors. I could go on about that for ages, but like, you can do this yourself. Like it's just always creating a bit of balance with it. So some darker colors with lighter colors always.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's good what you've said so far about creating the branding's own personal personality. And like you were saying, that when selecting colors, you might like a color, but that doesn't necessarily match the personality of the company or the brand that you're setting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Thanks. It's something my business partner would have said at one point or another. So I'm just a sponge and I take it all in.
Written it down. Yeah, perfect. So what do you think the fundamentals that people should be looking at having or getting right? They were to focus on getting one thing right in terms,
Yeah,
brand?
so I think consistency. So whatever you do, if you have a logo, like I might think it's rubbish, but whatever it is, even if it is like whatever, you are consistent with it.
Yeah,
So you
right.
have that logo, you have a set of colors, you have some fonts, and then you only use those.
Right. Okay.
And if you think about big brands, for example, McDonald's or Coca-Cola, you don't
Yep.
see them using different brands from what they're known for.
Yes. Yeah.
And they've got fonts that they use. They speak to their audience in a certain way with a certain voice. So it's all about consistency. And you would notice if they didn't, because it would be out of character.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
So yeah, and so like I will just go one step further with that. So if
Great.
you are just starting out and you've done all of that, you've created your logo, you might have done it in Canva. If you don't know about Canva, it is a great tool.
I love
And
Canva.
yeah, we set all of our customers up in Canva with their branding guidelines when we finished.
Yeah.
Because there's actually like if you pay like the $13.95 a month or whatever it is,
Yeah.
you can actually have that all set up. So you can actually then go into there, and this is what I would do is if I'd created it myself, is I would go in there and I'd set up the fonts, I would set up the color palette, and I would have the logos in there, and then I would always use those.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I wouldn't go rogue because it's very easy to do that in Canva.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because everything's pretty.
Too easy to play. Like everything in Canva.
Yeah.
The thing is, you can get sucked in and spend hours trying to create something because there's just so many different options in it.
Yeah.
And the creator of that, I think her name's Melina.
I don't know. You're going to teach
She's
me
an
something.
Australian lady. Yeah, she's
Is
only
she?
22. Yeah, amazing.
Amazing. It's very clever.
Yeah, yes. Well, the next thing I've got on here is some tips and tricks. But you've actually been giving away lots of tips. That's Vico. Have you got anything else to add? You know, we've talked about talking about your branding's personality, being consistent with your fonts, your colors, your language. So if someone was to start and put themselves out there, what would be the first places you would start putting your branding out to?
Yeah, I would probably work out like where my audience is and, work out that way. We're on Instagram. That's where we get a lot of business, and we connect with people through Instagram. We do stories, and that kind of drives engagement.
Yeah.
And we then work with the people we want to work with, which is really nice.
Yeah.
But, say I was like an ice cream shop, like where would I be? Like there's a fab one in Mordialloc, actually. I can never say the name, Giovanni's, that's just opened just pre-COVID.
Okay, yes.
And I was just talking to him like the other day. That's kind of kept us going through lockdown. Like, let's go for some exercise and get some ice cream.
Perfect. It's like a exercise. Yep.
And he's food, so he's open still. But like the poor guy has only just opened, and he can't get anything because like he's just opened. So it's him and his daughter. They're just keep kind of going. But if I was like him, like where would I be? Like I would be like, who is your market? It's like families, like of the local area. It's like I would also be thinking about other things like the reviews, like is it like Time Out and things like that, like if I could get myself featured. He doesn't have a website, but he's working on that at the moment. So being on my Google Business, in Facebook groups.
How important is having a website, in your opinion?
So I think that it's like if you don't have one, it's a bit of a missed opportunity, because it's a place, like it's a shop front. But in saying that, if you've got one that's really like, if you're really not proud of it in your gut, then maybe not. Because because it all has to be consistent.
Yeah. That's what you specialize in it. If that's what you specialize in, isn't it? Sorry. Oh, that was a tongue twister.
Yeah.
So, in the services that the Who provide, you do photography. And for those who didn't see the post that Collective did last week on Jessica, she was, sorry, I'm going to toot your horn.
Oh, thanks. Embarrassing.
That was voted in the top 150 photographers in the world.
I know, still can't believe that.
So I think you should be really proud of that. So obviously you offer branding photo shoots, but you also offer website design and development.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay. So Crystal has always done website design, but then obviously with COVID this year, it's been really difficult for me to photograph most things except products. So I do product photography. People drop stuff off at my door. Someone just come in. So people drop product stuff off at my door, but as far as like the branding shoots of people and their businesses has been really far between this year. So I have got a pretty technical mind anyway, so I've just taught myself Shopify this year. And so with the help of Crystal, who is a designer and knows how to do these things, I've then been able to kind of fast track that. So so we do Shopify and Squarespace websites.
Yeah. Okay.
And we do it with a real design. It's really design based. So with Shopify, like it's really easy to make a website. It's really awesome. But most people I think could make one that looks pretty good. But what we do that's different is we go in there and make the elements like really designed. So it really matches your brand and uses all your elements. So
which comes up to your point before about being really consistent.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm quite technical, there's like SEO that, I know as much as I need to know about SEO. So I make sure that that's all kind of all the photos are tagged correctly. And I teach people how to kind of set that up so that then they're found through their website for the relevant things rather than something random.
Which is what a lot of people probably had to learn in the last couple of months, because there's been a lot of businesses out there who have had to quickly set up retail shops or websites to services. So I think there's been a lot of people learning those skill sets.
Yeah, definitely. Last week, Tamara from, I don't know if she's a member yet, she's probably going to be though, in Bloom Horticulture. She is at the front of Zuda. Yeah, I told her about you guys. So and she's always learning things. So, but she was on Weebly, which is an extension of Square Up, which is like a payment service, because she's got her physical shop, but it just wasn't working. Like she's had to close her shop. So she was like, Jess, I need some help. So emergency. Yeah, we moved her all over to Shopify, and now her site's working really well. Like Weebly just wasn't up to the scratch of what it needed to be. The user experience wasn't very good. So so that was really rewarding. We did that just in a couple of days. Quick
turnaround. Yeah,
it had to be, because suddenly she has to pay rent still, and everybody's in this position, and you have to make the sales.
Yeah, you got to keep operating. Yes, there's been a lot of stories like that. So I'm sure she would have loved working with you guys.
Yeah.
And as I said in my post the other day, you can actually see, the Who flair, because you got such beautiful colours and beautiful design, and, what you do, which is why I asked you. And it's funny, I'm not sure why, whenever I think of branding, jazz hands comes into it, and I think that's because it's just fun.
That's what we do.
A little bit of sparkle.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it's a really fun topic. Okay, I think you've given us heaps of information. Just in Kingston Collective, we only really, I started back in October last year and ramped it up this year. So you've imparted a lot of wisdom to me, and you've taught me a few things.
Yay.
And so thank you for your time today.
It's a pleasure. Hopefully I didn't ramble too much. I've just got so much going on up here.
I've enjoyed it, so I think it's fine.
Yay!
So if anyone wants to get in contact with Jessica, so obviously the Who.
It's thewho.com.au is the website. And then on Instagram and Facebook, it's the Who Photography and Design.
Yeah, I think I just said it back to front.
That's okay. It's a bit of a mouthful. But yeah, we trademarked it all because like I was a bit worried. Like obviously the who is important because what we're doing is all about the who.
Yes. Yeah.
But obviously it is a band as well. So yeah, so we were worried that like we wanted to make sure that we weren't infringing on any copyright and trademark.
Yeah.
So we had it. Yeah, we've registered it under 3 classes and it's all legit in case anyone's worried.
Jessica is not a band. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's it is what it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much, Jess. I always love you. It's been lovely to get to know you. And yeah, we'll leave it there. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. And if anyone watches it later, you're always welcome to ask Jess some more questions.
Yeah, I'm always on Facebook.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you guys for checking in, and thanks, Jess, for chatting with me today.
It's a pleasure.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.